from the depth instant tutorial.
You wanna decimate your enemies from above using the long range method? Well, welcome to this mortar tutorial. Well then, let's start building. You'll need to go into the CRAM Cannon section, and here we will come up with a smart Tetris. So decide the height of the CRAM system, how high it will be inside of the hull. And I'll make a CRAM cannon that is this high. Automatic and manual packers, and we'll use the manual one because that's the better one. You'll need to learn it. The part sticking out connect to pellets, the suction cap connect to 6-way connectors. So we'll need to fill it up here, just like this. And now you'll go into the CRAM menu again, select the firing piece and place it down, just like that, on top of it. And of course you'll need to make it face upwards, because otherwise it won't really be a mortar. Then what you want to add is a fusing box. Select the fusing box and connect up the suction cup to this, firing piece. Go into it and select low altitude. And then we'll select -5 or something like that. Similar. Because if you make these set to detonate under the water, which this will be, it also increases the damage, so that you may have a good chance of damaging your enemy's hull, even though you kind of missed, which is why we choose with low altitude fuse. Like even with the built-in homing, most of the CRAM shells will miss, but when they hit, they do a lot of damage, because lots of ships are not very well armored from above. Now let's click Q on this firing piece. And on CRAM settings, you will change this one, only low, to prefer high, or only high. But prefer high is more versatile. Now let's fill in some pellets. We're going to fill in with some explosives for now, and we can change this very easily later. And we fill in all sides except one, just like this. Alright, and now we will go to prefab mode, and we'll need to do a prefab of this thing temporarily. Like that. And we are now going to puzzle these things together here, so that it will share some connections with other ones, like this. And we can select some random block, and here we go. Okay, so now we have made it so that all of these 4 CRAMs share most of the pellet boxes, so that's very, very efficient. You can see it's this kind of pattern here, and they all share most of them. Very nice. So now of course we need to set up some AI to control this thing. So we go to the AI tab, select local weapon controller, and select a wireless receiver to hook them up. And there we go. Inside the local weapon controller, we might want to set up some brackets. Like for example, -50, well, we can't attack submarines, so -6, and below that we cannot reach with this weapon. And vehicles that are too fast, it's very useless, we even try to engage them, so if they are faster than 30 meters per second, I think that we have no chance hitting it. So we set up that limitation here to be less wasteful. Also, tiny crafts we won't even be able to hit with these big guns, so let's say they have to have more than 200 blocks in order for us to even try and care about them. And there we go. Alright, let's go into the firing pieces and just check that the setting has come over when we copied it over. We also want to go to synchronization and sync all these up. Synchronization, and select number 1 on this thing, and synchronization, and select number 4. And this will make it so that all shells are not fired at once. If you want all shells to fire at once, do not set this syncing up at all. Let's go back to the CRAM Cannon section and select some gauge increasers, because we want to boost the gauge of these cannons a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. And make sure that these different cannons don't accidentally connect into each other, because if they do, some of them won't work. To make sure that all of them are equal, you can look over them and see how many pellets they have connected. If you've done things correctly, it should be equal amount of pellets for any of them. Remember that the gauge increasers can also connect with each other, so do not let them connect, because if you do like this, you can see that now they can share pieces, so this has less and this has larger, and we want all of them to be the same gauge. Alright, and there we have a nice gauge of all of them. They now have 1450 millimeters of gauge, all of them, and well, looking good. Let's go into metal and add some kind of rudimentary armor to this thing, so that, well, it won't blow up too easily. And then we are going to proceed with the barrels in a moment. Alright, something like that will suffice for now, so let us design the barrels. Longer barrels are more accurate, shorter barrels move quicker, so it's a trade-off. For this type of build, we don't need particularly quick barrels. Also, we don't need super accurate barrels, since we do have a small homing effect. But we do want it to be decently accurate, but also not too slow, of course. We will add a couple of motor-driven barrels, pivot barrels, so that it can move around decently enough. And then we will actually need some recoil suppression, because many of these CRAMs, they do have some recoil, and when firing them from this mortar, it can make your ship go underwater. It also reduces the shell speed a little bit, which might actually be a good thing, since if the shells are too quick and fly up too high in the air, they might kind of disappear. Then we can add this flash suppression barrel. It will also further slow down the shell, but it also makes it more stealthy. Since mortars come from a very high angle, they might be visible for a long time, which make them susceptible to, lamps and other things that try to shoot them down. So adding this flash suppression barrel, you can only have one or you only need one, will make them a little bit more stealthy. So then we need to have some regular barrels like this, just to make them more accurate. And I think we will have another of the recoil suppression barrels as well. So now it's decently accurate and, well, should also survive a little bit. So I'm going to make this barrel for all of these 4 cannons, or mortars, I mean. And there we have our quite beautiful little mortar piece. Of course, now we need to set up the shell a little bit more, so let us do that. Let's just check the fusing boxes, so that the fuses are indeed copied over. Sometime it happened they didn't copy over, so just make sure, otherwise it's not very good. But here we can see we have all explosive for now, and we should be able to go into reconfigure layout and say add a lot of hardener pellets and apply to all cannons. And sometimes it doesn't quite work, but this time it did, so that's nice. But if we go into the firing piece, we need to go in here and see how many pellets are connected. And now we can see that it's an uneven amount of HE and hardener. All of these are not equal anymore. And to make them equal, we select all cannons to be high explosive again, and we are manually going to exchange some of these pellets so we have the equal amount in all places. So frag does a great damage to the deck. That's something I also can recommend to have. But generally, armor piercing high explosive is pretty great to even tackle some heavier targets. High explosive frag is great against very squishy targets, but if you have some armor piercing on here as well, you will be able to penetrate the enemy deck from above and explode within, which is it does a lot of damage. And there we are, now they're equal, 36 hardener, 63 high explosive. Very nice, stripy and all that. Now I'd say it's a good idea to test this thing out before saving it as a prefab. Click C and select God mode so that your platform won't be damaged during the tests. just click X and spawn whatever enemy you want to try this out on. Now I can see we did a little blunder here. So go into the CRAM firing pieces and check if they're all synced together. So if you sync everything to everything, like they're synced in a circle, they'll never fire. So you'll need to not sync one of them. One of them needs to be free. That one will be the lead, and the rest of them will sync up to that one. If every one of them are synced up to each other, they will kind of wait for each other and never fire. Well, I must say I'm pretty happy with the results of this mortar, and I'll definitely save this as a prefab. If you also liked it, please leave a like and do stay tuned for a future instant tutorial in From the Depth. We'll make many more. Also, post your comment suggestion on what instant tutorial you want to see next. This is your host, Jimodism, signing out.